Greetings and welcome. I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. I'm guided by Spirit. Trigger warning: the subject matters of a mature nature, and we will be dealing with mature events, adult events, true crime events, mysterious events. Disclaimer: all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. So, wow. I almost want to say, what the fuck has happened? And in reference to January 1 to January 21. You know, just from a content creator point of view, in the beginning of the year, I was thinking, I did a couple of entertainment shows in December just to keep the wheels turning. There was no major activity happening. Threw a few more sprinkles of entertainment. And then unfortunately, when we got round to January 1, the story began to unfold. Now, if you're real time on the channel, you will know there's a playlist. I'm not going to go through all of that now. 17/8 and the chaos that followed playlist. It's on the podcast list as well. There are several episodes there. Well, it's pretty much most of what happened in January. And you know, from a practitioner point of view, currently I'm feeling very, very drained. The next day of when I launched Suzanne's episode, Suzanne, who just by autopsy results said large amounts of tranquilizer. Now, from a practitioner point of view, and full disclosure, I've received information since that episode. I haven't looked at it thoroughly yet. I'm going to. But doing that first episode, you know, to consider what one human being can do to another. The impact on me was just tremendous. I mean, I actually avoided doing that case for whatever reason. I don't know. I kept on seeing it, but I never thought to investigate. In fact, in the early days, as far as I knew, the husband, I mean, I even saw a 3D animation of proposed how they ran around the table outside. Wasn't there that animation? Just thinking about it now. So, case closed for whatever reason, and popped up on my dial again recently. But the emotional impact was like, I can see her face now, out on the yacht. I'm just going to go get her name quickly, because otherwise, and it was right at the beginning. I'll put her video. Oh, Robert Wagner's wife. That's a cue. I'm just trying to see how I'm going to find that video. Robert Wagner's wife. Murdered, in my opinion. I'll put the thumbnail here. I remember. Hopefully your name will pop up. But you know who I'm speaking about? Robert Wagner's wife. The one of the first ones on the yacht. There was another famous actor, was it all saucered up there at the restaurant? By all accounts, they were, if I want to be polite, trashed. Obviously something must have gone down in the boat, but what I'm getting to, I think it might have been like one of my, within the first 10 videos I ever did on my channel. It is a sensation of being underwater, but also coming to underwater. In other words, regaining consciousness underwater. And that for me was a raw experience. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, you don't anticipate what's going to happen. You can maybe, based on findings at the grave or the crime scene or whatever, will determine what kind of crime it was, right? We've spoken about those brutal crimes. Now, in the case of Suzanne, who allegedly may have, well, there's definitely a presence of tranquilizer. But if that wasn't enough, and I believe it's the menace, you know, when they say crimes of passion are in the main pretty violent. And not so much violent. So for example, if it was a burglary, 1, 2 stabs, 3 stabs, maybe. But if it's spousal, it can be quite heinous. I'm not going to be graphic, you get the picture. It can be worse. There's a lot of anger, bent up frustration, anger, whatever relationship they had. I mentioned, I felt like there's this tension coming into that 72-hour zone, right? Then I received information saying that they were about to get divorced. It was hostile, it was... And, you know, these crimes with spousal partners can be nasty. And to consider the fact, I mean, I thought about it after the show. You know, at some point she would have, or let's put it this way, I'm not a doctor. But if you had a sedative, it either wears off, so at some point you're going to get some kind of regained consciousness. Alternatively, the tranquilizer is so dominant in the body and it becomes poison for the body. In other words, it's meant for a rhino, but in this case it was done on a woman. But consider the, you know, at some point, if that's the case, then some point she would have maybe died of heart attack or whatever, right? Because it was too much for the system to handle. But when I looked at those numbers, the 16-7, which is unfortunately asphyxiation, strangulation, lack of oxygen to the lungs, 7 are the lungs. It went through the night to midnight, still breathing. So in other words, we can almost say, as ghastly as it may sound, there's proof of life. In other words, they're still gasping for air. Because that 16-7 continued till sunrise the next morning. So she was still gasping for air the next morning, midnight to sunrise. Then we can consider, and I'm just surmising, there was help afterwards, definitely, without a doubt. Did anything else happen afterwards? I didn't go that level. In other words, did he wait for her to regain consciousness? Let's say torture, arguments, fights, you did this, you did that, but now it's over, boom. Or tranquilizer berry finish, tranquilizer diet finish. We can only surmise. I believe she was awake. She was definitely awake underground. And yeah, let's leave it at that. So, yeah. Milani, like our Princess Kate, was it Trooping the Colours, when after Trooping the Colours they were all on the balcony there, excuse the event, family, and it was like the first time they were standing on the balcony, right? And Kate in her penguin suit, and we get Milani in her penguin suit. My name's Roberto. I'm a CE4 abductee survivor. It was actually quite traumatic at the time, I must tell you. It wasn't exactly, that was such a lovely dream. What a lovely dream. Fuck, pity I can't remember the ending. This was as real as it got. The night, well, I wouldn't say that the night that my life changed, because I believe there were a sequence of events, but there was something with as an outcome of that experience for me that I didn't share a lot with. And while pondering about that, because I actually wondered after the event, what was the purpose of me having that experience? From a real-time aspect, I was leaving one part of my life, and it was the time when I was transitioning, let's call it corporate, into the entertainment media space. And it happened within the first year of that transition. And I kept on, because at the time I was a writer. I was kind of a wannabe writer. I was actually working at a video store as well. I gave up the corporate life back then. Anyway, long journey since. So after the whole situation, I kept on with, I wasn't really fully into my psychic self at that point, because I was more into, I want to be a scriptwriter, I want to work in the film industry, entertainment industry, right? That was my personal goal focus. So the concept that I came up with, that came to me during the process of what is this all about, was, I believe at the time, the unification of all alien nations. Now, I remembered this past week. Now, considering the series on ancient portals, the alien episodes that I've done, and of course my own experience, we are not alone. Now, I just want to also, for the record, say, for many it's obvious, but I also just want to set the record straight, if I didn't before. My feeling about what is happening in the walls of Congress, in now, all of a sudden, oh, it is true, but we still want to control the narrative. There's just something off about that whole thing process happening around that thing process. Because if you think about it, for many years, let's say even from Roswell time to present day, recent day, denial, but there's been physical evidence, proof, physical, even biological evidence. There's video evidence. And yes, there's times 10 bullshit shit. Because those lame fuckers haven't got anything better to do than suck their own dicks or whatever, right? Anyway. When we have the platform like we have the Inauguration, and we see the various platforms already, I've seen in Rome, France, I'm early, not even early stages of London, but France, I haven't recorded it yet, but there, and in the current 17.8 sequence series, 17.8 chaos series, there's proof and evidence we are going through a mighty shift. A mighty shift of power. During the episodes of Hurricane Milton and Helen. Was it Milton and Helen? Excuse me. The latest comment I heard about the hurricanes in up north of Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, that area, that there are still thousands of people missing. There are 1,000 more human beings of flesh and blood living in homes with families missing. There was a dramatic portal sequence in that the so-called disputed Mexican Gulf or American Gulf, whatever you want to call it now. Does it really matter? Who does it belong to anyway? But because by all accounts, we got the underwater people that are living there. So at the inauguration, and in true fashion, and apologies to anyone that this picture of Elon Musk saluting offends anyone. It offends me in many ways. I'm not Jewish. I don't believe I've got Jewish heritage. A practitioner told me I've got some kind of Torah connection. The only connection I have is, as mentioned, I lived on a moshav in Israel, and I had Shabbat every Friday night with a group of we happened to be all South African, let's call it farmers, tourists, working tourists, whatever. And every Friday night we'd have a dinner Friday in the farmer's house, Shabbat. every culture has their strengths and weaknesses. And in many cases, if you had to, on some way, look at them at equal footing, they're very similar. Similar in interest in values, goals, what they want, heritage, saving culture. Now, when you get the penguin people, see Milani's second dress, the black and white penguin people, that's why I say penguin people. We do have to appease those that also assist in bringing us to power. But what of this Elon Musk salute? So a strange, interesting thing happened to me while I was watching this video, this particular video here. I was actually, for a moment, looked away for whatever reason, but I was drawn back to the video the moment Elon Musk turned to the people behind him, and he was saluting into the crowd. I noticed he was saluting into the crowd, looking at the people behind him. Now, remember, or if you don't know, I read energy when I look at this as well, right? Or let's put it this way, it's like looking at the numbers. If I see a conflict in numbers or there's something strange in the numbers, then I know there's something wrong. If something happens, there's a spike in, let's say, the norm of the energy around the person, and something's happened, right? Obviously, right? So I turned back and I saw him saluting the Nazi salute, in my opinion. Looked like the Nazi salute to me. We do know the royal family. There is archive footage of them all saluting in the back garden there during tea. They're all saluting to each other, the royal family. And that was in, well, don't quote me on the exact, we can go deeper if need be. We'll probably find them in the history series anyway. All saluting in the backyard there, having tea. So I saw Elon Musk saluting to the back. Then all of a sudden I felt an energy change, like a dramatic energy change. He turned around and he immediately patted his heart. As if to say, I'm a patriot, that kind of vibe. He turned around immediately and patted his heart, realizing he had just made a who's the people sitting behind him here in the scene? Because he was saluting directly to them as a matter of interest. You can go find that video again. And only after a few moments later, then he did this salute. Now, the obvious juxtaposition, you've got a, let's say, Jewish boy saluting in the honor of, and it's we can get the sins of the father, not necessarily go through generations, but I'm just saying, the then German commander, who actually, as we all know, was from Austria. Austria produced a gem. So now, why is a South African American passport application number, what is that one that's everyone's fighting about at the moment? So he gets in. Might have spent 7 days in California without letting anyone know, but hey, bring your 45%. So why is a Jewish boy from South Africa saluting? I could be wrong. He could be thinking he's listening to the Superman song or something. Very strange that he would be saluting unless the narrative's not true. Let me just say, let's put it out there. Of course, the big issue has always been, was the narrative true? But why is a Jewish boy saluting like the monster that slaughtered all of his people, that almost created genocide? But let's salute because, what are we saying? Rothschilds in the background, all those little people, I want to say little people, maneuvering. Now, what is this issue of unification of all alien nations? I don't know. I'll have to meditate on that a bit more, because when I realized that was what I picked up at the time, one could argue that is possibly what everyone is striving for, in terms of your 15-6, your 16-7s, your 17-8s that are roaming around this earth plane in some shape, way, or form. But at least we know there are 17-8s around, because here we have a depiction and a nod to Satan. Satan. SpaceX Satan. Now, I wonder why Elon Musk is doing the swastika salute. Elon Musk. Elon Musk. What is behind the mask of Elon Musk? Elon Musk. And he's got a Satan transport system, saluting Satan, dressing people. And now the Satan dressing people are in Parliament. If you follow the but it goes back to the 800s at least, 800s. We need to go back more. But 2 episodes, clear evidence, 800s, large volume of activity, 15-6, 16-7s, 17-8s. All in front of us. 15-6 on the left, I believe. We got a 17-8 in the black and white swirl. And we got a 16-7, perhaps 17-8 mix. Elon Musk. That's my take on the inauguration situation, culminating in the President's Ball. And I thought I'd just make a mention. I just realized something. Alright, so that's the start and beginning of the podcast. Greetings and welcome. I almost feel like I wanted to start over again, or do the usual intro. This is day 2 of the recording of podcast 13, Intuitive Sundays. It is January the 25th, just going on to 9:20 a.m. Central African Time. All blessings. Welcome to those that are also seeking how to take down the truth. Welcome, you're more than welcome. Grab a popcorn free of charge. Just don't put that toxic salt over mine, thank you. Just a bit of backstory. I tried to record the history show earlier this morning, and I don't know why. I'm still processing, but I became like a ball of uselessness. I don't know, I've been going through a lot this last week, but I had one intense, and I'm just going to say it for the sake of just context, not to reveal anything more. Very big reading, personal reading as well. I mean, private reading, yeah. And then, of course, the Suzanne episode, as I've already mentioned up front, or wherever it's positioned in the podcast, had tremendous impact on me. I mentioned, I remembered her name this morning. Was it Natalie Wood? You know who I'm speaking of, that allegedly drowned in the water after the three of them were seen consuming large amounts of alcohol. So that was about 2-3 hours ago. I thought, let me go take a drive. I did the Sunday vibe on a Saturday. Went and got a nice rich coffee, a nice fresh toasted sandwich, and we're now 2 hours later feeling sparkly. We'll deal with the rest later in time, motherfuckers. All right. What is going on with Hitler? Maybe, actually, that's a good idea. We should look at Hitler's numbers, because now this is another plus to the numerology and the flow of numbers and energy. Someone may have passed, let's say like in Hitler, or in anyone, we can say Hitler, I haven't looked. But anyone, let's say a crime victim died 2 years ago. And then 2 years later, current day today, her numbers technically are all in a particular day or within a 72-hour scope. And therefore, that energy is coming through. It's, for example, why I say, if a crime is committed in a 5-year, there will be disclosure, and that disclosure will have legal bounding, legal documentation, legal presence in a courtroom. Now, that can also include if it's settled prior court case, because it's still disclosure, right? It's disclosure, but it comes with legal finding documents. If a crime is committed in a 7-year, it comes with, as I've discovered over time, it comes with justice. Yes, it can. Yes, if you commit a crime in a 7-year, or even to a person with dominant 7s, crime will get justice, whether in the physical and karmic. Remember, this is not a free-for-all. It may seem like it at times, like the first flippin' 21 days of this year, right? But short of stories are we? Because now we get in all sorts of things about this Nazi salute. Now we can sugarcoat it with whatever, badger honey, whatever you want to call it. Look here now. In the previous portion of this, Here is the image of the royal family in a supposed 1933 film reel. And who's in the middle here? The Queen. Now we can rationale, yes, she's a kid. The parents groomed their kids, because that's also grooming. But here we got the Queen's mommy. Hail, motherfucker, hail. Now, this is what sparked the continuation moments ago. Vehicles left, army vehicles left in the ruins of Palestine. Call it your side, whatever, call it holy war, what the fuck ever you want to call it. Whatever propaganda you want to believe about this war. That may be a discussion for a later time. But be that as it may, on focus we have Nazi printing on a vehicle. I must get that calendar out and see what the fuck is going on here. So we got Heil Hitler on Israeli vehicles. Elon Musk is hailing the Queen being under him here, this picture here of an alien. By the way, because it was bothering me earlier, so I'm obviously currently, I believe it to be 7 hours ahead of Standard Eastern time, more or less. And so this morning I'm seeing footage of late yesterday, Trump doing the rounds. Good on him. It's always good for a leader to show face. I was always wondering who's standing next to him in those press conferences with casual beanie, appropriate long hair, sunglasses, casual wear, if you think about it. We can say on one hand, from a marketing PR point of view, fitting in with the people. We don't want to say, well, you know, we would rather have flown overhead and just had a look from that way. It dawned upon me in this moment while recording that, was that a stand-in there with him? Felt like something, not her. Sunglasses always on. It also felt a lot younger. No offense to Melania, it's just the energy. It's just the energy. Actually, I always wondered how Trump was getting his mooty while he's traveling so much. Alright, so we've got all of these salutes going on here. What the heck is going on? Secret 1933 film shows Edward VII. Now, when I did just a dipstick minor research, his name is popping up all over the place with these Nazi guys. Now, we can say on one hand, yes. It's 1933. On the throngs of World War II, choose your sides now. And you know, this, just thinking about it now, I had a terrible image. You will recall the so-called Blitz. The Blitz of Britain, when Hitler and his Nazi spies, also referred to, commonly known as the royal family, must have maybe moved to Paris for the moment. We must actually see where were the royals during the Blitz of Britain. Because surely, as an insider saluting motherfucker, shame, man. The illusion War is money. So here's the Queen here in the middle. I usually don't like to show children's faces because these were probably the real children. I think maybe the second one looks problematic already. Demonic. Certainly this is the person at the time. So here we go. Hitler has rubbed off even on the Jews. Hitler has even rubbed off on the royal family. And the aliens are in play. I don't know who was that with Donald on his recent trips. Well, not recent trips, 1 day round trip. Stand in, smile, don't fucking say a word. Just wait till we get back in the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching a world-staged play. As mentioned in a previous episode, they're all fucking together. Even Vladimir and Zing Zing Dingaling and the Michelin Man up north. Ladies and gentlemen, community members, fellow human beings, this is, I almost wanted to say 19 something. Well, it's 2025. All will be revealed. 01, remember 9 is an all revealer number as well. Remember, 9. A +9 outcome, all is revealed year. January 25. While I was digging, I came across this article. Do you remember Harry? Now, we can say, yes, Halloween is fun. Going to the inauguration is fun. Standing in front of a camera is fun. Who's fooling who? Now, I would just say, knowing what we know today, and in the past I've stayed away from Harry. Let him do what Harry do. Knowing what we know today, was he trying to tell us something here? Because no one in their right mind would do this, right? Certainly, William would never come out of the closet with his uniform. Huh? One tiny Austrian little motherfucker born from the bowels of Satan. The horrors of life. Well, one could say yes. Are the royal family satanic practicing motherfuckers? Now, I don't know what the answer is, but one could surmise. Good God, ladies and gentlemen. I would say get that extra popcorn, because we're going to be watching a telenovela. Hail the King and Queen. Hail the King and Queen. While there are shifts in paradigms, and we hear the creeping and crawling away of those minions, as the crispy heels, I almost want to say breathe again, but there's more fires. They are burning it to the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow community members, this is Psychic Medium Roberto. I am human. Get your pen and papers ready. Get your recording devices ready. Be alert. The stage is unfolding in front of our eyes. And with that, we'll conclude this episode of Intuitive Sundays. May God help us all to face evil. And remember, evil is even blind to itself. Let's watch how they stumble and fall and make idiots and fools of themselves. We will laugh at them in our private spaces. We will mock them in private spaces. And we will expose them whenever we can. What the fuck? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I know things have been heated. What the fuck moments. And they keep rolling in. It's like hitting the jackpot at the casino. Don't go play at the casino, you're only feeding them. Don't go to the casino, you're only feeding them. But I think there's going to be enough entertainment, at least for the next while the crocodile people get into place, and the lizard kings, and the big dragons, and all those minions that salute them. Bye for now.